Okay, now we're going to create our very first HTML document. It's not going to be big, it's not going to be fancy, but it will be functional. So what you want to do is open up a text editing program. I'm using BBEdit, but you may be using something else like Text Wrangler. You also will want to open a web browser. I have both Chrome and Firefox open. Now, you'll want to open a new document. You can go under File and New, and you'll see for BBEdit there is something called New Text Document, New HTML Document. We just want a blank page. And if you do go to New HTML Document, it will give you these options here. You can just hit Return, and it will sort of put in the HTML code for you. But this almost defeats the purpose of us learning how to code the page. So for now, we're not going to go with the sort of prefabricated version. We're going to go back to a very blank page. So if you did select HTML document, what you'll want to do is select everything and then hit delete. So we want to start off with a clean slate. Okay, so in HTML, the very first command is HTML. So I'm going to put in this tag, HTML. And I'm going to put in the end tag, end HTML. Now, a couple things about this. One, as we learn more and more about HTML, you'll learn that it's not actually the first tag you'll put, and there is a doc type that will come before this. But for now, just for creating a very basic page, this is all you need. Secondly, what the HTML tag does, it tells the web browser that the page that it is viewing, or the document that it's viewing, is a web page, as opposed to a text document, a flash file, an image, etc. Because web browsers can interpret all sorts of documents. But this particular document is a special type of document called an HTML document. And we tell the browser this in a couple ways, by naming our file .html, but also putting in the command HTML here. So the next tag we're going to put in is the head tag. And I'm just going to indent this slightly. You don't need to indent, but I find it when you start indenting your code, it makes it much easier. Because what you'll find is that there are certain tags in HTML that will contain other tags, or you'll nest your tags in other tags. So your HTML tag, all your content, almost everything in your web page is going to go between the start HTML and the end HTML. So I can actually put this end HTML way at the bottom of the page, because I know everything that I'm going to do is going to be between the top and the end tag. Okay, so my next tag is head, and I'm going to put in end head. Now, what the head tag does is it gives the browser information that isn't necessarily displayed on the web page itself. So when we talk about meta tags, you'll put your meta tags in there. We're also going to put the title of the page in there. So the title of our page does not appear in the body of our web page. It actually appears within the browser title. Now, strictly speaking, this is something you don't have to do. You don't have to have a title for your page. And if you don't put in a title, the browser will automatically call this untitled document. But for the purpose of being organized and for search engine optimization, you'll want to give your document a name, even if the name of your document is I can't think of a name. Okay, so I'm going to indent this again, and I'm going to put the title. And to indent, I'm just hitting the tab key, which may work in your text editor or it may not. Okay, I'm going to call this my very first web page. and then I'm going to put an end title tag in here. So remember what I said earlier, almost every tag will have a start and an end tag. And there's some exceptions, and there's an exception that we have coming up very soon. Okay, now I just move that up so I could make my code tidy. Now after the head comes the body. And then of course we have an end body. And the body tag is where our main content is going to go. So anything that we want actually displayed within the browser is going to go in the body tag. And because everything that will be displayed in the browser will be in the body tag, I'm moving the end body tag to the very end of the page because everything I have is going to go in it, and I'm going to need space for it here. Okay, now we'll talk about the body tag in more detail later, but the body tag is where we can put certain things such as to change the background color of the web page, or to change the default font color, or to change the link color. Okay, so within body, this is where the main action goes. So I'm going to just write a few lines here. Okay, so I have a little poem, roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. Okay, now in order to view this within our web browser, we're going to have to do a sequence of things, and it's important that you stick with the sequence. You're going to need to save the page, then you're going to need to go into your browser. You're going to have to open the page or reload the page. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to go to Save As. I've previously saved this page, but just to show you what it would look like if I were in an unsaved state, I'm going to Save As. But if you're doing this for the very first time, just go to Save, and it will bring up the same type of dialogue that you're seeing here. Now it's asking us for a name. I've called mine index.html. Index files are very special files because what index files do is that you can create a folder, and when you view the folder in your web browser, it will default to the index.html page. We'll talk about that in more detail later, but feel free to name this anything you want. You could name it roses.html, or you could call it angela.html, or you could call it whatever your name is, .html. Now, about the HTML part that we see here, some people use .htm. I think that PC users tend to use .htm more than Mac users, and .htm was quite popular, I think, during the late 1990s to use. Some people prefer to have a 3-letter extension, some people prefer to have 4. I personally like .html, but if you want to use .htm, it won't affect your document. Go ahead and do it. I prefer .html, but this is really a preference thing. You may also see some documents that are .shtml or .xml. You wouldn't want to do that. Your only options here are .html or .htm.